Good morning, everyone. I've been thinking about Samuel the prophet. He was one of the best, I think one of the greatest prophets in the Old Testament. And his first assignment was listening for God's voice. And in 1 Samuel 3, we pick up the story, and it's the third time that the Lord's called to Samuel. And Samuel gets up and he runs back to Eli again and says, "Here I am, you called me." And Eli realizes then the Lord is wanting to speak to the boy. It was at a time when God was not speaking. People hadn't heard God. And so Eli says, "Well, go and lie down. And if he calls you again, just say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" And so Samuel goes and lies down. And the Lord does call, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel says, "Speak, for your servant is listening." I wondered about my heart and about my attitude. Is that my heart? "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Is that your heart? Are we listening for the voice of God in our daily living? And are we doing active listening or simply passive hearing? Because there's actually a difference. Hearing is something we do with our ears every day. We can pick up all the different sounds within a certain range. Listening, however, involves the mind as much as it involves the ears. Listening is active. Listening is a verb. Listening is a doing thing. Listening is a choice. God calls us to actively listen to Him. He desires that you and I want to hear from Him. He desires to have a relationship where He's talking and walking with us each and every day. To listen actively means that we need to listen expectantly. That means we're eagerly waiting for God to speak. We expect Him to. Are you listening expectantly? Listening expectantly also means that we listen with recognition. We recognize that God is speaking because we're familiar with His voice, because we spend time in His presence, time quietly sitting, listening to Him and not just talking to Him. So listening quietly with expectation means that our ears are open, our mouths are shut tightly. Listening requires patience, patiently waiting within His presence, not rushing through the time, just ticking it off on a list. Listening requires a quiet confidence in a God who has something to say, and actually, to me, to you, He wants to speak. Listening requires an open heart, an open mind, a willingness to be corrected, convicted, comforted, and not just open to niceties. Listening requires our full, undivided attention because we are intent on obeying and applying whatever it is that God has said to us. Active listening means that we have ears to hear what He's saying. I pray that that would be true of you and me today and always, that we are positioned to listen to a God who wants to speak. Take care.